My name is Jackson, and I've never watched any soccer in my life, but now I'm watching every single game in the World Cup, and I'm going to break down with my expert co-host, Josh the Ear Cone, today's matches. Today's matches, as a reminder, Argentina versus Austria, France versus Iraq, Norway versus Senegal, and now at halftime, Jordan versus Algeria. Um, Josh, how are you?
I'm doing well. Was a great day of World Cup today. Very exciting. So I'm hyped to talk about it.
Yeah, it was definitely from what I can tell. Again, I really do not know any soccer, and I think that actually got me in a little bit of trouble today. Um,
Hmm.
a lot of the bigger stars were kind of out today.
Yeah. The stars are showing out in all three of these games so far. Some of the biggest names in soccer across the board, at historic levels, going goal for goal across all the games.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's a different perspective. Someone coming in, knowing these guys, knowing these big names, or someone who hasn't seen much of this before.
Well, the really interesting thing before we get into like any of these actual games is I did know who Messi was, and I had heard of
Yeah.
Mbappe before,
Mm.
but when I was filming my halftime report for Norway versus Senegal, my brother Sam was filming, and afterwards we came inside, and he was like, "You didn't want to say anything about Holland," and I was like, "Who's Holland?" And he was like, "The guy from Norway. He's like one of the big four. It's him, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Mbappe." And I was like, "Oh, I've never heard of him." He's like, "Well, that's crazy. He's basically like Messi." And I was like, "Well, if I've never heard of anybody and I've not heard of him, he must not quite be like Messi." And he just kind of laughed at me and walked away. But then Holland went on to score two goals in
Yeah.
that second half of Norway versus Senegal, and that was such a great second half, by the way. And we'll get into that, but that was very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And maybe not at that level of household name for someone who hasn't isn't super involved in the sport, but yeah, he's really come onto the scene over the past few years. Plays for Man City and as for his club team. He's kept pace with these top guys. So definitely a name now and will continue to hear as this World Cup goes on.
Yeah, great. I mean, I can tell that was a good that was a good pretty nice uh game from Holland. So let's just break it down. Let's just get into the first
Yeah,
game.
let's dive into it.
Argentina versus Austria. So going into this game, I believe my prediction was 3-1 Argentina. I did actually know that Messi played for Argentina, but I also had heard he was on the older side and that he's a smaller guy. Like I really have I've seen him a little bit. I had no clue. So I expected Austria to get a goal because I didn't think Messi was a defender, and I uh expected not as many goals as I expected maybe from Mbappe and Holland because he was older, and I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea. Like I stayed out of the news. I have no clue. And so I said 3-1 Argentina. And it ended up being 2-0 Argentina. So my goal differential was right. My score was incorrect. Let's just dive into it. Like, what did you think about the game?
Yeah, so pretty decent prediction for you there. Good work with that one. This is a fun game, a historic game. Messi breaks the all-time World Cup goal record with his 18th. Mbappe may be coming up on the trail of that soon, but it's really interesting. After 2022, when Argentina had their run and won the whole thing, people thought, that's kind of his last dance, his last big hurrah, and he comes back out here and scores 5 goals in his first two games. Doing it at 38 years old, historic stuff. And he had some missed chances as well. The penalty that he missed, another chance towards the end. But Argentina taking care of business. They're definitely one of the contenders here. So excited to see what they do when they face some super competition.
Yeah, that's what okay. So I did see, he broke the record for the goals, and that it's hard to talk about one of these at a time right now because I feel like they're also
They're intertwined with these
with their
stars
big
here.
star players, which I
Yeah.
hadn't really seen like to this emphasized level until today in
Hmm.
the World Cup. Like they're good players, that matter on the teams. But I think that today it seems like, and tell me if I'm wrong, I ran into three of the biggest stars that there kind of are in the World Cup.
Yeah, and there's a star-studded slate today. I believe, they keep it pretty much so the same teams will play on the same day each week. And I believe you missed this slate of games last week. If I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but that may have been before you came on the scene. And there was a similar sort of vibe where these three guys showed out,
Okay.
and lightning struck twice, and we saw it again today. It is three of the biggest names in the sport. So it was a big day for sure.
Yeah. The okay. Here's one thing that I noticed though between Argentina and Austria that was not as prevalent, I didn't think, in France or Norway, is how much Argentina funnels into Messi. Like their whole game is just 90 minutes of pass the ball around and try to get it to Messi so that he can score, or try to set up a play so that Messi can score. And to me, and I said this on my reels, and it actually got a lot of people saying that I'm a stupid idiot. Um, I felt like that was not as interesting. I felt like it was not as fun as some other teams' kind of collaborative effort. And so it was more boring to me having it
Hmm.
just everything go straight to Messi. It felt a little annoying. What do you think about that take?
That's interesting. Obviously, everyone's got different perspectives on what they're looking for when they're watching, what's entertaining to them, and there's no necessarily wrong approach. Haters gonna hate, but I I still was entertained just by seeing the greatness at work. You definitely are right on that. Right in the head. They do really um focus on getting him the ball and getting him shots on goal. I mean, he's such a talented player with the ball that it makes sense. But yeah, maybe the less cohesive game of some sorts. But it takes work to get the ball to him because the other team knows it's where you're going as well. So it's a little easier said than done on that front. But I can see what you're saying.
Um, Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I don't want to say that it's not interesting to see Messi do his thing. Like I thought that was very cool. I think it was the second goal he scored where there was kind of that decoy Argentinian, and then it went like through him
Hmm.
to Messi. That was hype. Like I was not
Yeah.
expecting it. One thing about Messi
Hmm.
was that his goals were like out of nowhere. Like they just happened in times where my mind was thinking, and I've watched now like about 20 games of soccer. I'm thinking like, oh, there's no goal coming, and then it happens just like that. So that definitely was hype to see. I just would have liked to see more from the team as a whole, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I get that, and that's to your previous point. That's credit of Messi, one of those rare players where he can create something for himself just out of nowhere. A lot of teams you have to slowly um build up that offense, build up that run, bunch of passes to lead up to it, get that perfect pass, perfect runs. But with him, you never know. Anytime he can just strike and make it happen.
Yeah, so that was hype. Just really quickly about Austria, and they let a goal in like the very end of the game, which was sad to
Mhm.
see because they've been doing such a good job weathering the storm against Argentina and defending. So I was sad to see that. But before that happened, they did have really good defense going on. Stop it. I mean, they stopped Messi so many times.
Yeah, they weathered the storm pretty well. A lot of missed opportunities for Argentina, but credit to them for holding up as well as they could.
And my question that I have about this game for you is this. Messi is considered the most dangerous player maybe in the World Cup, or at least one of them, right? And he's a smaller guy. All the other games, and Argentina, Austria as well to a degree, everybody's getting fouled very hard, very rough. I didn't even realize roughness was really a part of soccer until recently. Why not foul Messi more? I felt like he was not really touched. Is that always what happens, or was that just kind of this game?
He's definitely got his share of physicality as well, but there are a couple factors that go into it. One, him being a smaller player, it is easier to knock him down, easier for him to draw fouls. If you're pushing and shoving against a bigger guy, you can get away with more. Versus you're putting all your weight into Messi. He's going to fall over. He'll do his rolling and falling and down, and he'll draw a foul. But also he oftentimes gets the ball so close to the net, you don't want to risk fouling them getting a free kick close to the goal, getting a penalty. So he's great at putting himself in position where he's if he gets fouled, they got a great set piece coming up.
All right, I see. That makes sense. In my like conspiracy theorist head, I was like, they pay these guys off not to mess with Messi. I know it. Um,
Yeah, I've swore those, those conspiracies run rampant with those stars. So you never know, but that's my take on it.
so that's kind of Argentina, Austria. Uh, Fun game for me in the sense that I saw Messi play a game for the first time. Not my favorite game of the day, however. Um, my favorite game of the day, although there was 2 hours in between halves, was France versus Iraq. I mean, I thought, not necessarily the first half. The first half, and I said this also, and I was also called dumb for this one. I thought was also kind of boring. In those first 15 minutes, France was on the attack, but then Mbappe scored a goal around the 15-minute mark, and after that, I think they kind of, and maybe it was on purpose. I don't know. That's kind of my question for you, but I think they took it down a gear and kind of rested on their laurels for a minute. Was that to conserve energy? Was that on purpose, or am I making that up in my head? Like, what do you think?
You know, I think sometimes, whether consciously or not, a lot of times when a team gets that lead, your foot goes off the gas a little bit, they chill out a little bit. They got that first goal in the net, they got that sort of safety security behind them of that goal. But part of it was Iraq was putting a bit more pressure on them. And obviously eventually, France kicked it up that second gear and took over the game completely.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, second half we come back after a full rest of 2 hours, and France scores two more goals, and this kind of draws attention back to what I was saying about Argentina. Is France, even though Mbappe is very important piece, probably the most important piece of that team, it did not feel as Mbappe centric as Argentina felt Messi centric. Like because the other guy, Demele or something.
Dembele, yeah.
He scored a goal,
Mhm.
and it didn't feel like it was an accident and he should have passed it to Messi. It felt like that play was set up and he took the shot, and that was great. And earlier, he did an unselfish thing when he actually had another shot at the goal, but he passed it to Mbappe, and Mbappe scored. And that also did not feel like I must always pass to Mbappe. It just felt like that was the right move in that moment. And this team as a whole felt a lot less we must pass the star player and a lot more we can definitely pass the star player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And that's a fair assessment, and that's for a reason. Coming into this tournament, a lot of people gave France that edge as being the favorite, alongside Spain, with Argentina a little notch below, because France has an extreme amount of depth and is an extremely great all-around team. Argentina's got a lot of talent as well, but maybe a bit more centered around that star player. Whereas France, if you watch their first two games, you'd be focused mostly on Mbappe and the how talented he is and how much he performs in the World Cup. But throughout the year, conventionally, most people would consider Dembele their best player year round and the best player in the world, considered by some. Um, and they've got talent across the board. Some of their subs that they bring in would be star players, or at least starters for most of the rest of the teams. And so they've got a lot more depth, a lot more all around play. So it is very fitting for them to show out that way.
See, I did not realize that they had kind of two star players in a sense. Um,
Yeah, at least at minimum.
like I definitely have never heard of. You said Dembele.
Yep.
I never heard of him, but I did hear in the commentary he was like player of the year or something.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. Some guys play differently for their, the team they play with throughout the years. They're outside, not the internationally, it's called their club team. And some players are played differently for each. And Dembele and Mbappe both play for the same club team, PSG. It's a team in Paris. And Dembele is sort of taken over the star of that team, but once the World Cup came around, sort of the dynamics of this French team, Mbappe takes that sort of first star role. So it sort of depends on the system they're playing in, the environment. Different guys step up, different guys play different roles.
Well, like I said, I liked that game a lot. It was very fun. Um, do you want to say anything else on that, or should we move on?
I think we got it mostly covered.
Great. So game three of the day, Norway versus Senegal. Going into it, I made a prediction this morning. I said it would be Norway 5-0. Now, I didn't know actually that they had this guy Holland on their team. I just felt in my blood that it would be a Norway crushing moment. But we came into the game, I found out not only eventually did I find out that Norway had Holland, but also Senegal is actually not to be slept on. And so the first half, it was 1-0 at the end of the first half. And I was once again, and I feel like maybe I just have a low attention span potentially. It was 1-0, and I was kind of bored. And I was saying, well, anything could happen. But I could feel kind of bubbling up under that both teams were ready to score. And I was right because when I predicted halfway through that it would be 3-2, halftime report, my prediction was 3-2 Norway. We came back. They both teams scored 2 goals in that half, and that was very fun. It was very back and forth. There was a lot of dramatics right at the end of could Senegal tie it up. They couldn't, but it was still fun. What did you think about it?
Yeah, this is a fun game. The closest result of the day. Holland, one of those guys like you talked about, that any given day he can just take over. He had a couple very close missed chances that he'd want to get back at the end of that first half. But as you said, Norway sort of slowly that you could see that bubbling up. Eventually they broke through, got a couple goals, but Senegal didn't held their own. They didn't fall over, roll over. Sarr got 2 goals of his own. Um, and yeah, it was an interesting game. I think you could, see towards the end there was that drama. There was decently high level of goals scored, so an interesting one here for us.
Is Holland younger than Mbappe and Messi?
By a couple. So Messi is the oldest by far of that trio. Messi is I think 38, almost 39. Similar age with Ronaldo up there as well. Harry Kane is on the older end. He's star player for England that you'll see coming up soon. Um, Holland is 25 years old, I believe, and Mbappe is 27. If I remember correctly, around that range. So they're in the younger end. They've sort of come on the scene more recently, although Mbappe past couple World Cups has been a star as well. But yeah, they're on the younger side.
Yeah, I mean, I just was getting like a slightly younger vibe from Holland, so that's why I was asking. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a fun player for sure.
I'm excited to see what Norway does. Oh, one thing about Norway, I really liked their fans doing
The
like
row,
throwing.
it's iconic. The
Oh,
Viking row.
it was hype. I liked
So
it.
yeah, the Viking row. It's crazy how they time it out. They're in such unison. It's
Yeah,
hype. I've seen them doing it in Times Square across the U.S. in the stadium. So they've been a fun fan base to watch.
yeah, definitely, definitely. We're gonna talk about Jordan, Algeria, like it hasn't started yet because the game's not over. I've never heard of Jordan or Algeria. I've heard of the countries, but I mean, like, I know comparatively to everybody else, even less. What am I supposed to know? Like, I mean, I feel as though there's not uh a star player the same way there are in the other three games. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, no sort of massive household names for either of these teams. They both lost their first games last week, so both in sort of desperation mode to get into that knockout stage. I guess what I'd leave you with is it's anyone's game, and maybe look for a more all around effort from both these teams.
All right. Well, there's a couple other breakdown points I just want to touch on really quick. I did see, or actually, we'll talk about them in the prediction video tomorrow morning because they're both pertinent to tomorrow. So this has been good. Do you have anything else you want to say about the day of soccer that we've been treated to?
I'll say, enjoy seeing these stars, especially Messi. This could be his last sort of big run. Never say never, but enjoy seeing these guys, and get well soon to Dr. Day, our fellow host.
Yeah, hopefully he's back tomorrow. Um, One thing about Dr. Day is he's not going to do things he doesn't want to do. And for those of you listening, I had to re-say my line just now. Too much too much noise. But I feel like maybe I'm gonna call it an end of the breakdown now. So yeah, thank you so much, Josh.
Of course.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.